Good morning. It's Thursday, June 20th, 2024. It's just after 11 a.m. on the East Coast. This is Robert Sin at CEO Technician on X, at Goldfinger on CEO.ca, and you're watching Goldfinger Capital. As always, if you find value in these videos and my content, please hit the like button on this video, subscribe to my channel. As always, a lot to get to. As you can see, all the tabs open. It's an everything is awesome broader stock market environment. It seems like we have a strong economy, or at least that's what we keep being told. There's clear signs that inflation is declining, coming back into the Fed's target area. September rate cut is still a coin flip, maybe 60-40 in favor of a cut in September, but it doesn't look like we're going to get one before September. Tomorrow is options expiry quadruple, options expiry where we get futures, the options on futures, the options on equities all expiring. We get a lot of trading volume, usually on a quad OPEX day. And then we'll get Russell rebalancing the following Friday. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later in the video. But basically, the broader market just keeps going up. Mega caps keep going up. Nasdaq keeps going up. I mean, look at the 50-day moving average on the QQQ. It's all the way down at 447. So basically, like a normal, healthy market correction would bring it back to 450. And that's almost 10%, about 7-8% above where we're trading today. And then look at NVIDIA. I mean, you can barely even see the 200-day moving average there at the bottom of the chart, all the way down at 69, basically 50% below where the stock is currently trading. So everything is awesome. Everything's awesome. Just buy mega cap tech and ride it. It's pretty amazing. Every Wall Street analyst is bullish. Every investment bank has come out with a bullish call, raising S&P price targets. Even Kashkari, so he's been like a hawk on the Fed, and he comes out with some dovish, remarks today, saying that we're seeing some evidence of softening around the edges of the economy. So the Fed is laying the groundwork for a cut in September. I really think that it's quite likely that we will get a cut in September, even though the market right now is not fully pricing it in. The market's not fully convinced of that. But all we need is to just continue to get to see some softening in the labor market, and inflation continue to cool like it has in the last month or so, and that September rate cut will surely happen just in time for the election. Yeah, and so you can pretty much assume that anybody on the Federal Reserve is not a fan of Donald Trump. So a rising stock market and supposedly strong economy and cooling inflation will tend to favor the incumbent candidate. And yeah, they would prefer to see Biden win because he's an establishment candidate. He's an establishment politician. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do everything to continue to juice stocks and make the economy look better than it really is. This is pretty amazing where we're seeing forward PE multiples move up to, not record levels, I guess, for the S&P. There's not 23 or 24x yet, but 21, 22 times forward earnings is aggressively valued stock market by any definition, right? So everything is awesome, and stocks are priced as if everything is awesome. Gold had a nice move up here this morning from 2350. We got almost to 2380 at the peak there. Yeah, 2379.50. We're pulling back right now. Let's see how the week closes. I really don't want to just say, okay, it's a breakout. That's the bottom. It's in. Um, let's see weekly confirmation of this, but obviously it is encouraging that we moved above 2360 this morning. That's sort of my breakout level, if you want to call it that. But not totally convinced that we're out of this trading range yet. So let's get some further evidence of that. But I definitely do like a lot of gold chart setups right now. I mean, NVIDIA overbought, gets more overbought. The uptrend just keeps trading, but at some point, this thing has to find some gravity. I think you'd be totally insane to chase it at 137 at this valuation, but probably a lot of people said that at 110 and at 115, at 120, but at this point, it really is overstretched. And actually, just thinking back, based upon my experience, we get a big OPEX day like we're going to get tomorrow. So it's a big volume day. It's an opportunity for funds to liquidate positions, to lighten up, to take profits. And I would not be surprised if we see that on Friday. That doesn't mean I'm expecting a big down day, but definitely could see a down day and could see some profit taking in some of these stocks that just have had enormous gains in 2024. And again, the divergence between the mega cap, the really big cap plus $50 billion market cap, 100 billion plus market cap companies, and the rest of the stock market. The rest of the stock market has not been going up in May and June. Okay, and in fact, in June it's been going down. So this is one of the biggest divergences I can recall in my lifetime, where you have literally like a dozen stocks making new highs every day, powering the S&P, the Dow, higher, but the rest of the stock market is just not following. And in fact, they're not just following, they're actually falling, right? So this is not a healthy, I just got to sort of keep, stay consistent in that theme. This is not a healthy market environment. It doesn't mean you just go out and short the S&P 500. In fact, that would probably be a bad thing to do, but it is cause for caution. Okay. This is the gold daily chart. Um, yeah, 2360 is an important level. Let's see if we can get a weekly close above that. But still, to sort of snap the series of lower highs, we'd have to get back above 2400, right? So it's good to see gold up today. It's good to see some positive price action, but by no means do I want to just sort of say green light. Gold is going straight up now. I still think that we're in a little bit of a summer slog here, at least for another couple weeks. Copper. Let's talk more about copper here. I kind of got these bullet points out of order, so actually, let me skip ahead and we'll come back to copper. Come back to it. So let me change some of these. Move this over here and move this over here. Okay. Occidental Petroleum, OXY. So Warren Buffett has a big position in this company. And he actually just made a filing, a Form 4 filing. He was buying millions of shares at 59 and $60 a share recently, just last week, right? So if Buffett's a buyer at 60 and he's going to support the stock at 60, well, I don't mind buying it at 62. That's pretty clearly, defined, risk level. Stop loss right under 59. It's had a big pullback. I mean, big for this stock, a 15% drop is a big deal, right? But I like it here. It looks like it found support. It looks like we're turning back up again. I like buying it off the support level with Buffett right underneath me is the bid at 59 and 60. So I like OXY for a trade here, long at, let's see what it is, 62.39. Okay. Long for a trade, let's call it 62. Stop under 59. And I also like oil here. And I think I want to turn more positive on oil. OIH, so oil services, 295 is a big support level. So, got this one wrong a couple months ago, but it's really been washed out here. I feel like it's 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 ripe for a tradable rally off this 295 support level. Um, maybe all the way back up to 320 in OIH. So I like OXY, I like OIH again. IAG. So this is one that I pounded the table on the last couple of weeks. 360 is the entry point. Well, we're up. We're at 381. If you're a really short-term trader, yeah, you could take some profits here. But I like just holding long on IAG. I think it's pretty attractively valued for a mid-tier gold miner with an increasing level of output. Cote Lake is ramping up. Their operations are improving at multiple mines, not just Cote Lake, but a couple of their other bigger operations. Um, and costs seem to be on the downtrend, slight downtrend, I guess. Still not super cheap. Uh, mid-tier miner, like 1,500 an ounce, like all in, but not terrible. And even at 1,500 with gold at 2370, the profit margins are pretty large. So I like IM Gold, IAG, continue to like it. Next gen. So talked about this one for a trade last week. Got that right. 670 entry. I took profits already. Made about 6% on it. This is just messy. And like, not only is the chart messy, the company is messy. The optics of the company are messy. We had some more selling from an insider last week. So I like next gen as a trading vehicle and really nothing more. It's a trading vehicle. Um, and I'll take my profits there. But the nuclear, energy and uranium trade is absolutely not going anywhere. And Cameco's consolidated a little bit. The sector overall has not been trading that well in May and June. But honestly, I view this as a part of a longer term consolidation, really not anything to worry about. We need more nuclear energy. We need more energy, period. And, we get reports of a big outage in Ecuador last night. The whole country went into blackout. Well, just more and more bullish for nuclear energy, for oil, natural gas, and copper. So yeah, the Russell rebalancing. So I don't. There's not really usually any great ways to play these rebalancing trades. So this will be next Friday that these stocks will get added to the Russell 3000, some to the Russell 2000. Um, But MindMed is one that a company that I follow. I understand it pretty well. They have $250 million in cash. I think their market cap is somewhere around 400 million right now. So they're getting added to the Russell 3000. So that will bring in buying. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen early next week. It could happen next Friday. But the Russell, indexes will have to buy MindMed shares to add to their indexes to the Russell 3000. I think MindMed is at support at $7 a share. It's definitely been in a downtrend since early April. But this morning, the company announced that they are aligned with the FDA for their phase 3 trial for MM120 for the treatment of anxiety. And this will start later this year, right? So just a pretty simple piece of news this morning, not a whole lot of detail in it, but a positive sign. They're going on to phase 3 and MM120. And so what is a phase 3 drug candidate for the treatment of anxiety, which basically everybody in the world today has anxiety in some form? I think it's a very promising drug candidate. It's a very promising phase 3 trial that could have a very impactful outcome, both for the company, its shareholders, and for the world, quite frankly. So I like MNMD for a trade here off this 726 level. I think it's pulled back to support. And it's tough to like say, well, where do you put your stop loss? Well, I mean, that $7 level is a pretty important level. Um, I have bought at higher prices. I'm willing to give this one some room, but obviously, if it did make a weekly close under $7, it would be pretty negative from a technical standpoint. You just have to manage your risk according to your risk tolerance and your trading objectives and time frame, of course. So copper pulled all the way back to 440 from 520 on May 20th. So it's been about a 1 month pullback in copper. Um, Dropping about 15% over that time frame. I think it's reset the chart nicely. It's reset investor sentiment nicely. And I wrote this blog yesterday on my Substack just talking about trends and how the most powerful technical analysis is just actually trend following, to actually understand trends on different time frames and be able to profit from those trends. And I think three of the strongest trends are actually in the metals, and they are uptrends in copper, gold, and silver. Now, obviously, charts look a little different, time frames are a little different in each, but I actually think that copper, um, quite frankly, is probably one of the most powerful and important trends in the world today. And just speaking into this a little bit, we'll get back to gold miners in a second. So this AI data center thing, it's relatively new. It's not completely new. We've had data centers around for a while, but AI data centers require a lot more energy, a lot more power, right? Like when you do something on ChatGPT versus a Google search, it's taking like 17 times more energy to actually get that answer back on ChatGPT. So these AI data centers are way more energy intensive. That means they're way more copper intensive. You need a lot more copper wiring, power lines to these data centers. Okay, and the fact that Caterpillar is is raising its capex budget by more than $1 billion to build out capacity, whether it's backup generators on site for these data centers or just the building of them, the construction of them. Well, that's telling you this is a very powerful trend, and it might be very early in this trend. So just some data points. So this is from Goldman Sachs. So they estimate just in 2024 we're going to need 80,000 more tons of copper for building of AI data centers in 2024. But this is a trend that's growing rapidly. So 2 years from now, that total will at least double, and it could actually increase by more than double. So we need 160,000 tons of copper by 2026. Okay. After that, they estimate it will stay stable around that 160,000 tons per year. But basically, 160,000 tons of copper per year, that's basically one big copper mine. That's one really big copper mine. That's like a significant copper porphyry deposit. That's all of its annual output. Okay. Um, just drilling down on this a little bit in more detail, just sort of how big these numbers could be. Whether the growth in data centers is 10% a year or 20% a year, that makes a big difference. So if it's 20% a year, then that's a hell of a lot more copper by 2030. If it's only 10% a year, well, it's not as much. Okay. Um, right now, like 80,000 tons of copper, that's not a huge driver in the copper market, but 5 years from now, that number could be significantly larger. And it could be very impactful for the global copper market, right? Um, but the thing to really understand though is that the world is rewiring its energy grid, and there's huge areas of India and Africa, even parts of Latin America that don't have power, right? And so giving power to all these parts of the world, everybody is going to want to have a cell phone. Everybody's going to want to have Wi-Fi. All of this requires energy. All of this requires copper. And then the upgrading of the existing power infrastructure. So like in Ecuador, the fact they have a countrywide blackout, well, clearly they have some major problems in their infrastructure, right? So the upgrading, the refurbishing of the existing power grid, well, that's just a huge amount more copper. Some copper can be, recycled, of course, but there needs to be a lot of new copper uh, to do all these upgrades. Um, so the supply of copper is the real challenge. Like we understand the consumption drivers, EVs, green economy, blah blah blah, right? But it's the supply side that's the real problem. And sure, this chart won't be exactly right. These numbers won't be exactly right, but the trend is the key, right? The consumption will continue to increase through 2030, but the production will not, right? This line might end up being up here. It won't, it might not be quite as a big a drop on the supply side, but still it's going to fall short. It's going to fall short, and that's the key thing to understand. The supply is not going to be there. We're not going to have eight new mega mines permitted and in production by 2030. It's just not happening, right? So stick with the copper trade, stick with the copper theme, and yeah. So just, the simplest way to play copper, like Freeport McMoran, like every day the market's open is a good day to buy FCX, in my opinion. Very high quality, senior miner, lots of copper production and lots of gold as well. So you get both. I mean, copper is probably the main driver for their bottom line and for their revenues, but they had a significant amount of gold output as well. Eero copper is another good one. ERO, well, it's definitely smaller than Freeport, but a little bit, get a little more bang for your buck, a little more juice here. And then I just want to talk about the gold miners. So GDX, um, we've had a correction along with gold and silver itself. So far, it looks like support has held at $33 a share. So we talked about that last week. I talked about how $33 is my big, first area of support. Well, so far that's holding and we're bouncing. Newmont held support at $40 a share. I think this is a very positive sign, and right, and this makes me more bullish on gold. The fact that miners are trading so well, the fact that Newmont has been displaying this relative strength for the last couple of weeks, and it's continued to hold support at $40 a share. So, like I said, 2 Fridays ago, when gold was getting blasted down $90 an ounce, Newmont couldn't crack 40. So that's the kind of support that I like to see in the biggest miners. Barrick turning up off the 200-day moving average. Agnico, very small pullback. I mean, it's barely 10% pullback off the high. So these are high and tight consolidations, and these are charts that are acting really well. So the fact the miners are acting so well just makes me that much more positive on gold itself. And then maybe we have seen the lows. Core mining, so CDE, so this is an American gold and silver producer, and another high and tight consolidation, barely pulled back. So normally when silver drops 10%, core drops 30%, or sometimes even 35%. I mean, this has been a super hyperactive, high beta miner forever, as far as I can recall. Well, major change of character in CDE the last month or so. Major change of character. Holding up far better than I would have expected on big gold and silver down days, and now moving back up again, but still just consolidating, forming this nice little bull flag. I mean, it's like textbook stuff. Just draw your lines there. It's a flag. It's a bull flag. Um, yeah. So I'm a big fan of how the miners are behaving. They're trading well. All right. Okay. So final topic of the day: junior miner update. Hercules Silver. So we got a news release update from Hercules. Let me just refresh my chart here. Okay, 57 cents. So it's down down about 6%. Obviously, not been trading well the last few weeks. Obviously, some of this you can blame on the copper drop. You can blame on the sector. And obviously, some of it you might blame on this morning's news. Okay. Drilling program has not been going as fast as we would like. And so the stock has just leaked lower. Um, so just read this news release. So the drill program started end of April. Actually, two rigs started end of April. One rig started in early May. The bigger rig, I believe, came in at the first week of May. So total of 3,000 meters have now been cored, drilled, and 5 completed and 2 in progress holes, ranging in length from 411 to 560 meters. So, couple things there. 3,000 meters in just under 2 months. That's not a great, I don't know whether it's 15 meters a day. It's somewhere between like, 15, 16 meters a day is like the average. That's slow. That's slow. Um, and then the holes are not going as deep as I would have expected. They in the news release in April, they showed target 700 meters on a couple holes. So that's not good. Assay results are anticipated in batches with the first set of results by midsummer. Okay, so that's sometime next month, probably end of next month. Um, challenging drilling conditions. So this is explaining why the drilling is so slow. The upper plate resulted in slower than anticipated production rates at the start of the program. To compensate for this and ensure adequate strike length is covered by the program, large step outs up to 1 kilometer south are now underway. The phase 3 drill program is the largest yet and is expected to continue for the remainder of the year, testing a multi-kilometer target area. So they're telling us they're going to drill until Christmas, basically, right? So they're going to need to get to 20,000 meters at this pace. Now, hopefully, the pace is going to increase. Hopefully, I mean that's important, and I would actually like to hear more about that from the company. Maybe we will hear more about that. When I see this drill progress, I question, well, is it the upper plate? Yeah, I mean, the upper plate has given challenges at Hercules before. I think if we recall to 2023, remember, well, the ground in general has given some challenges. There were some problems in the upper plate last year. I remember they lost one of the deeper holes at some point, terminated prematurely. So drilling challenges here is nothing new, but this pace seems especially slow. Okay. Um, in addition to the ongoing drilling, the company has now completed a more detailed map focused on the exposed lower plate Triassic rocks in the east of the property. So that's over by Big Cut. Key lithological and structural controls, which will further refine the drill targeting. The results of the detailed surface mapping will be released in the coming weeks. So this sounds promising to me. Key structural controls. This is going to be important in targeting. If you don't understand the structural controls, the age of the different plates, which rocks you're in different areas of the property, well, you're not going to target as well. So this is important. This is what that gentleman Warren Pratt was helping with when I was there in May. Uh, soil and rock sampling. So it's basically, they're doing field work on newly acquired ground and aimed at identifying additional porphyry centers. Okay, so that's positive, but that's very early stage. Don't really have any detail there. CEO quote, he's emphasizing strong cash position and they have to drill another 17,000 meters to reach the planned 20,000 meters. And of course, the drilling conditions challenging. And continues to see evidence of a large porphyry system, right? So, okay, fair enough. But then we have to read in here on the geological update. When I read the first paragraph, advanced argillic alteration in holes 2402 and 2403, and it's fistal, it's distal phyllic alteration and D veins. Okay, so that's distal, and actually uh, advanced argillic. So just look at a basic porphyry model. Here's the phyllic. Distal phyllic would be the top of the phyllic, and advanced argillic, well, you're outside of the phyllic. You're in the fringes of the porphyry system. That's holes 2402 and 2403. Um, no mention of 2401 and no mention of 2404. And actually, if I just guessed, just based upon the location of those holes, I would have guessed that 2401 would have been the best of the first three. It's furthest west. So remember, I've made a lot of videos on Hercules, and I've been very consistent. The grade vector is west. So I would have guessed the 2401 is the best of the first three. And then I would also guess, just based upon the location of 2404, in between 2305, just a little to the west and south of 2305, would also be a pretty good hole. 2407, so we got to read further. Unfortunately, 2407 at Belmont, this is the hole into Belmont, the first hole into Belmont, had to be terminated prior to reaching the lower plate due to strong artesian water flow beneath the Belmont zone. So there's a body of water, it's pretty small. Camp Creek runs along here at the lower, basically the bottom of this area. This is the lowest, the lowest point essentially is this creek. There's a road along the creek at a low elevation. I think it's like 1,200 meters or something. And up here, you'd be at 14, 15, 1,600 meters. And the farther north you go, you could get to some pretty high elevations over here by Great Creek. You might be above 1,600 meters at certain areas in Great Creek. So this is low elevation. This is higher elevation. That's unexpected, but I guess not a shock considering there is water, and this is going from higher to lower elevations. You've got gravity moving water downhill somewhere here. I would like some more clarity on that and what exactly happened, but they basically say abnormally heavy rainfall, and they will come back to re-drill this in the fall when they hope for lower charge in the aquifer. Okay. And then 2405 and 2406 are still in progress, and 2405 reached the lower plate this last week. So that means that 2406 is not in the lower plate yet. Challenging drilling conditions, but 2405 is, but they don't say any more than that. Okay. Now I am actually, so I wrote this morning, and maybe I'll attach this to this video, but I actually wrote that I actually have some hope for 2405 because it's drilled in the target corridor, and it's further south. It's getting close to Belmont, right? So let's see, where is this? Okay, so it's drilled here. So we're like right in here. Yeah, it's pretty close to Belmont. Yeah. I haven't like planned or scripted this video, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly. But yeah, it's just right on the edge of the mag anomaly, um, right off this road. So I have some hope for 2405. I don't know what to think about 2406. Um, and then they talk about The upcoming set of planned holes are shown in Figure 1. These holes are designed to test the potential northeast-southwest structural control. The goal remains to find the highest grade core of the system. So this requires some nuance to understand what are they doing in holes 2408 and 2409. So basically this is 2305 and 2409 will be a step out about 200 meters west of 2404, and then 2408 will be to the north of 2305. So what are they? I mean, 2409 looks great. That looks like a great location. They're going west. And I mean, obviously 2305 was a good intercept. Hoping 2401 is a good one. So that makes sense. I mean, it's just a step out from those holes, testing a new area further west. But why 2408 over here, right? So the words a potential northeast southwest structural control. What does that mean? Structural control. So what's a structural control? Well, let's refer to what we know. A structural control could be a fault, right? Here's 2305, and here's this thrust fault. And here's northeast, and here's southwest. So it's a northeast southwest trending structure. This could be a structural control, this fault. And also, look here, this black line, there's another black line. Look at what's going through here. There's two other faults coming in here. So this is a little complicated. You got three faults just evident on this map. This is complicated. And I am consistent in saying in last couple months that I think it's off to the west here. I think the core is over here. So it seems to me like these subsequent holes they're planning, they're trying to figure out the faulting here and what's been shifted around, right? They're trying to understand what has been moved which way, is for lack of a better way of saying it. They're trying to figure out this jigsaw puzzle. And they're saying it in pretty plain English, although it's one sentence. The translation is it's the faulting that's going on here. They're trying to figure it out. Yeah. So that's what else did I write? Yeah, that's it. Pretty simple. I mean, look, obviously, this is not the news release that shareholders want, but I'll say this. And hopefully, I hope they bring in another drill from a different contractor so they have a bigger sample size. What is actually going on? Is it the rock? Is it the ground conditions, or is it something wrong with this driller? Um, I don't know. I'm not a drilling expert, and I hate having to rely on a subcontractor to drill such an important program, but that's the reality of the junior mining business. It's just one of the things we have to deal with. Some drill programs go okay. None of them go great, by the way. They're always challenging. Some of them are really challenging, right? And this has started off as a challenging one, it seems like. Um, yeah, what else did I want to say? Oh, yeah. So, and this is, this is the bucking bronco of a new discovery drill play, right? So, like, zoom this chart out. Boom, new discovery, Barrett comes in, everything is great, speculation of how great everything is going to continue to be, and then reality hits, right? But if and the reality is not necessarily there's not a great copper porphyry system, there's not a new discovery here. No, that's not the reality. The reality is that the discovery is not a linear process where it just gets better and better and the system becomes into clear view in 10 holes and everybody makes $1 billion. No, it's that it's messy and you're going to not hit on every hole. And just because they drilled 2305 doesn't mean they had it figured out. In fact, quite the opposite. That was a blind discovery, and they didn't have it figured out at all. And you can see by the subsequent drill pattern how they went over here to the east, 2311, and found lower grades because they were thinking, well, the copper in soils is over here, so let's go east. No. So they're figuring out what's going on with this faulting over here. Hopefully, these holes, 8 and 9, well, 5, 6, 8, and 9, will give us a lot more information. As I said, I have high hope for 5, um, and I have high hope for 8 and 9. Hopefully that'll give us more information. But then I still think you got to go west. I still think you got to go over here. um, but what do I know? Okay, look. I've been consistent. So 10% max position in a junior minor, and you see why I'm consistent with that. The stock was a buck 50, and it's 58 cents. This is the so if you got 10% in at 150, which by the way I didn't, and I told you I sold at 150 in November. But let's say you did. Let's say you had a 60% drawdown. Well, you lost 6% of your portfolio, not 20 or 30%. Right? That's why you don't put more than 10% in a junior. Um, yeah, and keep some cash so that if the market does give sale opportunities, you can take advantage of it maybe. Um, People are going to ask me, did you sell? Did you buy more? No, I did not sell, and I am definitely thinking about buying more, but I would like to have a little more clarity on what exactly um, the objective of holes 8 and 9 are, and then where to next. And are we going to bring on another drill rig to speed things up a little bit, right? So I got questions, and I will do my best to get my questions answered and communicate them to you guys. So that is it. Yeah, that's it this week. As always, have a powerful rest of your trading week. Tomorrow's a big trading day. It's the quad OPEX day, and you probably count on hearing from me next Tuesday, I would guess. Um, Thanks again for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you, guys.